The courts have spoken. Chandler Morris will not play a seventh year of college football. What that means for Chandler Morris and the University of Virginia coming up on this episode of the 434 Defense. My name is Deuce Prince. I'm a Charlottesville, Virginia native, lifelong UVA football fan, and former college offensive lineman. And first off, it would be disingenuous to lead this off with anything else other than thank you, Chandler. Chandler Morris in 2025 had one of the most special seasons in, if not Virginia football history, college football history. Chandler Morris, who had dealt with injury issues, mental health issues, had been passed over on depth charts, had a season to lead the University of Virginia and led them to the greatest season in program history. 11 wins, win over Virginia Tech, bowl game win over an SEC opponent. Chandler Morris deserves his flowers for a long time at the University of Virginia. Whatever honor, whatever acknowledgement, whatever recognition we can give Chandler throughout the rest of Virginia football history, I think is totally warranted. Same as Bryce Perkins, another University of Virginia quarterback who in a very brief amount of time played exceptional ball at the University of Virginia and arguably changed the face of the program. Chandler Morris's 2025 season is the foundation for what Coach Tony Elliott, GM Tyler Jones, and AD Carla Williams are building at the University of Virginia. And I'm sure Chandler's gutted right now. I know he wanted one last ride with his teammates, one last chance to wear orange and blue and play in Scott Stadium and win football games for Virginia because he knew the special program that had been built here and the amount of work that he personally had put into getting Virginia to this point. And to Chandler, dude, you have given Virginia so much more than we could have even possibly asked for. You did not, this eligibility lawsuit, you not playing year number 7, you've let no one in Charlottesville and Wahoo Nation down. Absolutely not. Chandler's a competitor. He wants to go out and play football games. He wants to win football games, and he wants to play at a high level. And this injunction and lawsuit to gain another year of eligibility was to put himself in that position. Because the next level, the next year, nothing's guaranteed. You know, Chandler Morris, I presume, is expected to be a later round draft pick or a UDFA. You never know. You know, there is the Brock Purdy outcome, but there are just as many other outcomes where it's a very brief pro football career. These things are not promised. The NFL stands for not for long, and so I cannot blame Chandler at all for wanting to maximize the amount of time that he had where he could be a high-level football player. And he knew he could be a high-level football player. So, Chandler, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, as much as I am an analysis guy and I love offensive football and I love breaking down schemes, the fan in me had so much fun this year watching you lead this team in this offense. So, yeah, you did not let anyone down by this. You know, your teammates obviously were sticking behind you. Coach Elliott, a bunch of his teammates were there at the courthouse today. You know, all those guys are supporting Chandler Morris, and we're going to support him as Virginia Cavaliers fans wherever Chandler ends up going, whether that's playing football, whether that's coaching football, whatever he does in life. Chandler, we've got your back here in Charlottesville. For the University of Virginia, bit of a different story. This was a awkward position to be put in, to say the least. I don't think there was anyone in that building, anyone in Scott Stadium, anyone at the university, anyone in Virginia that did not want Chandler back for another year. I think everyone was really eager and really excited to have Chandler back, and we all knew that we're a better football team with him. The other part is we knew that this lawsuit was going to be an uphill battle. And so the University of Virginia had to prepare for life if this court decision went the way it did today. Obviously, bringing in Bo Pribula, Eli Holstein, These quarterbacks, bringing them in was a necessary insurance policy to make sure that Chandler being denied this injunction did not have a unnecessarily large impact on the performance of 2026, because 2026 is going to be special. With the amount of production we have returning on both sides of the ball, everyone knows about the offensive line at this point, the amount of special young players that we're going to have a chance to see for the first time in expanded roles, the amount of guys that we brought in through the transfer portal who are going to be playing their first season in orange and blue. Like, this is going to be a very special year, and we needed to have a certain amount of certainty at the quarterback position to feel comfortable going into August 29th in Rio de Janeiro. And so it pays to prepare for the worst case scenario. I know that Coach Elliott, Tyler Jones, everyone in that building did not want to have to plan for life without Chandler Morris, but knew that they had to plan for it because this lawsuit was going to be an uphill battle. Just kind of a sucky scenario all around. I think it would have been... Chandler deserved to have some closure. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Your college career ending in a courtroom is just a terrible way for it to end. You know, a lot of people don't have the privilege of knowing when their last snap of football is, or just college football for that matter. I was very lucky in that I knew I wasn't going to play at the next level. I knew when my last snap of football was going to be. I knew when my last college game was. And so that whole senior year, I was able to mentally process that. You know, I was able to sit on the bus and be like, you know what, this is the last time we're going to Cullowhee, North Carolina to play the Western Carolina Catamounts. And you know what, let's make the most of it. Let's make this trip special. Let's try and document things like this is going to be the last Friday night meal with the offensive line table. Let's go and grab the second plate of pasta and chicken. Let's extend this conversation. Let's have a good time. You know, this is the last time I'm going to run out in front of the South Carolina Corps of Cadets at the Citadel and hear those cannons go off and all of the things. Like, I was able to savor that and embrace it. And I think it helped me a lot in my post-collegiate career, because if you haven't played, this is kind of like a death. Like, when your playing career stops. And it's something that takes a longer time than you would think to process it. You know, people who are wired like Chandler Morris, who are competitors, who are high-level athletes, these guys are not wired to just be like, you know what, that was the last snap, whatever, if they know that they have more snaps to give. So I feel for Chandler, especially in that regard, because it is probably a gut punch for your collegiate career to end in a courtroom. So I think that there is a case of like, oh, he needs to get on LinkedIn. What is he doing playing a 7th year of college football? Man, if you were a college football quarterback and you got a chance to win at a Power 5 level, you'd want to soak that up for as long as you could too. So next steps for Chandler are where this gets a little bit weird. So Chandler Morris, it's April 2nd. Eligibility waiver denied. All the way back in January was the end of the window to declare for the NFL draft. So all of this time, obviously Chandler did not declare for the NFL draft because he wanted to play the 2026 season for the University of Virginia. Now he's in a bit of limbo land, and there are 3 tracks which I can foresee, and I'm trying to bounce off which is the most likely in my mind. Path A is the NFL sees this as kind of a one-time thing or something they can handle on a case-by-case basis, and they insert Chandler into the 2026 regular NFL draft pool. That means Chandler Morris would be eligible to be selected in this upcoming draft, and if he is not drafted, then he could sign as an undrafted free agent somewhere in the NFL. Now, I don't know how much the NFL would like to not follow their own deadlines and regulations. You know, what if teams haven't done work on Chandler yet? What if they have not scouted Chandler yet? Does this screw Chandler in a certain way? Or Has Chandler's team communicated with certain NFL teams? Have they said, if this goes sideways, they've told us we're going to be in the 2026 draft? I'm not in those conversations, and so it's hard to say. Track B would be if Chandler is then inserted into the supplemental draft. Now, the supplemental draft is something that does not get a lot of coverage, especially since the last player selected in the supplemental draft was in 2019. Some supplemental draft players, you might not think about it, like Terrell Pryor was a supplemental draft guy. A lot of the players that came over in the 1980s in the USFL were supplemental draft guys like Steve Young or Herschel Walker. These guys all came over in the supplemental draft, or guys like them came over. I don't think Steve and Herschel were specifically supplemental draft guys, but USFL guys. Bernie Kosar was actually a supplemental draft guy. The supplemental draft is for players who have had some kind of issue affecting their graduation or eligibility to enter the draft. A lot of times this is academic issues within the program. It can be drug issues. It can be disciplinary issues. It can be academic. It can be all sorts of things. Chandler's case doesn't really fit the supplemental draft, though. Obviously, Chandler Morris was an upstanding citizen in Charlottesville, had no issues at the program, and I think is leaving on great terms, possibly the best any quarterback has left Virginia at, outside of maybe Bryce Perkins and Matt Schaub and Mike Groh, but that's about it. So does the NFL see this as a situation where Chandler's in the supplemental draft? If you get taken in the supplemental, your pick the next year is taken in whatever round you pick the player in. So if you picked someone in round 5 of the supplemental draft, you would be forfeiting your 5th round pick in the next season. So it would be a weird situation. If he wasn't picked, he'd be a UDFA, and then the process would proceed like if he was a UDFA in the NFL regular draft. Path C is that Chandler is kind of ruled eligible for neither, since he didn't declare for either, or didn't declare for the NFL draft. You can't really declare so much as you're kind of designated as a supplemental guy. But Chandler could be neither. He could have to go up to Canada for the 2026 season. He could have to go to the UFL over the winter and spring the next year. He could be just kind of in a GA coaching role, just kind of biding his time until 2027 when he would theoretically enter, if he still wanted to play football at that point. That would be a very odd situation. Who really knows what would occur then? And it doesn't necessarily seem like this seems like the most unlikely option. And then there's the weird path where Chandler is all of a sudden just a UDFA or a free agent out of nowhere, because we don't really have a process or procedure for this. And so Chandler is free to choose his destination wherever. For Chandler, being projected towards the later rounds as a quarterback, and really any player in the draft process, sometimes undrafted is better than than drafted in situations. And I say that because as a UDFA, you can pick what team you go to. If you are a quarterback like Chandler, who I think would do well in a West Coast Shanahan scheme with a lot of play action bootlegs and moving the pocket and throwing on the run, some of the things that I thought Chandler did really, really well in 2025, and all of a sudden you got picked by the most non-West Coast offense team possible. I'm trying to think of an example, but so many teams run the Shanahan thing now. It's almost funny. If you got drafted by New England, that's not really a Shanahan tree team. That might not be great. Plus, you've got Drake May there. Now, if you're a UDFA, you all of a sudden can see, all right, what are the teams that fit my scheme that don't have security at the quarterback position? And then you start thinking Chandler's team might be man, if we could just UDFA our way to Minnesota, we might have a shot. They don't know what they have in JJ yet. Kyler Murray, we kind of know what he is. We don't really know if he has the stuff yet. Chandler's UDFA could go to Minnesota and have a legit shot. Whereas if he was drafted in the 7th round by the New England Patriots, what is he going to be there for? Is he just going to be a camp arm? He'd be competing for a backup spot at best. So there is a little 4D chess, and some guys, it's almost better to be taken in not at all as a UDFA than to go in the 7th round to a suboptimal destination. So For Chandler, who knows what the future holds? I don't know what his aspirations are. I think we'll hear more about that over the coming days once kind of the dust settles on this. For all we know, Chandler could be holding a clipboard on the sidelines for Clemson next year, working for his dad at Clemson. He could be at Virginia working as an assistant quarterbacks coach with the University of Virginia. He could be working for Coach Elliott. He could be doing any number of things. Like, Chandler Morris is obviously a pretty smart guy, understands who he is and what he brings to the table. And I think Chandler Morris would just succeed at whatever he puts his mind to after this injunction loss. And so, while I'm disappointed for Chandler, while I'm sad that he wasn't able to kind of have that closure to the end of his college career, I don't feel that Chandler is like permanently wrecked by this decision in his life. Like, Chandler Morris will be okay. And like, I think Chandler Morris is going to be a figure in Charlottesville for a really, really long time. Chandler Morris brought us to heights that we had not seen yet. And I think if you ask any Virginia fan, they are incredibly appreciative of that fact. I think we're aware of what he brought to the table in terms of his leadership abilities. If you ask any of the guys on this Virginia roster, they will tell you that Chandler was the motor of this team in the heart and soul. He brought it every single day all the way from the ACC media days where he said, we want to win a conference championship, and we were a play away after being picked 14th and expected to go nowhere. He turned Coach Elliott's seat from on high heat to cryogenic freezer. Like, granted, everyone contributed to that, but if you don't have the quarterback, you don't have it. And so, incredibly grateful for what Chandler Morris brought to the University of Virginia. And while I'm glad, selfishly as a fan, that Virginia did the necessary steps to protect themselves in the event that Chandler was not ruled eligible, I'm also not going to try and do a bunch of comparisons between Bo and Chandler or Eli and Chandler, because comparison only serves to hurt one party, no matter what side you end up falling on. It's going to be a different team with Bo Perbula or Eli Holstein at the helm as opposed to Chandler Morris. Is it going to be better or worse? Who knows? We haven't played those games yet. That's why you play the games. And so I think it'll be different, but to say it's going to be better or worse, I really can't say. And I have confidence in the rest of this team, the coaching staff, the quarterbacks we did bring in, the quarterbacks we have on the roster, to sleep pretty easy at night knowing that we are still going to be a very good football team in 2026, despite losing an incredible player at the quarterback position. So, yeah. Shame for Chandler. I'm definitely sorry and bummed out for him that this didn't work out. Chandler, if you want to come on the show at any point in time, you're more than welcome to. We'd be glad to have you. You are a legend in Charlottesville, and I think everyone feels that way. You did not let anyone down in Charlottesville at all. Let me tell you that for damn sure. So, to our viewers, drop a comment. What do you think Chandler's next step will be? Do you think one of those tracks regarding the NFL does end up happening? Do you think he's going to be entering into coaching? Do you think he's going to go do something else entirely? Drop a comment down below. If you've made it this far, it's clear that you love UVA football and appreciate what we do here at the 434 defense. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. We've got a bunch of really, really exciting news coming up here on the channel soon. A lot of really awesome stuff has happened. The offseason has been anything but quiet for the 434 defense, and what that means is going to be more awesome content coming your way, more awesome stuff for us to get involved in as both a community and as a channel here. So yeah, stay tuned, stay aware. We are going to continue rocking and rolling here on the 434 defense. So have a great night and go Hoos.